What up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So recently I went out to go see the new DCEU film called The Flash movie. It's being directed by Muschietti, who directed the last two It Chapter 1 and 2, which I thought the film was fantastic. But before its release, over the past 10 years, we've seen a bit of a rocky in development for that project, because we've seen a lot of the directors came and went over the years, and we were wondering, what are they going to go with the vision of the story, and how are they going to tell it? And I was like, didn't know if this movie was ever going to get made until they officially got Muschietti to direct this film. And it looked like that they were going to depict the storyline from the Flashpoint Paradox comic book storyline that involves the time travel. And I have not read the comic book, but I watched the animated adaptation, The Flashpoint Paradox, which is streaming now on Max. If you haven't seen it yet, this is my favorite DC animated film, and it's my favorite storyline in the DC universe because it was such an emotional, bold, and very compelling and dark. I recommend it. It's a must-watch film. If you haven't seen it, you'll love it. And now they were going to try to take the concept of it, but they were also going to involve the multiverse aspect, especially when they announced that Michael Keaton was going to be in the movie and he was going to play the big supporting role in the film. And I was wondering, like, how are they going to explain of Barry Allen changing the timeline and he wakes up to a new timeline, but now it's not Ben Affleck's Batman, it's Michael Keaton. But once you watch the movie, they really laid out and how it makes sense for him to be in this new timeline. And there's one scene, without giving away too much in the film, we see Michael Keaton explaining the whole thing about how the time travel and this whole multiverse works. And I thought they explained it very well. It might confuse a lot of people, but I'm one of the people that thought that I really understood it a little bit more than most people. And then we see a lot of the drama going on with Ezra Miller and all the trouble that he is causing that could affect the brand and it can affect the reputation of the WB in DC. And we've seen a lot of drama going on behind the scenes of during the DC Universe regime change. But you know what? I was still going to be open-minded and give it the benefit of the doubt until the trailers came out. And I was smiling. My hype level was on 10 times 1,000. I couldn't believe it. It became my most anticipated film of the year. And I know I've been hearing a lot of mixed response to this film, and some people liked it, and some people did like it. And I was willing to go in with an open mind and take the baggage that was going on with drama with DC and drama with Ezra Miller out the window. And I'm just going to judge the movie for what it is. And after coming out of the Flash movie, I will say, I thought it was great. Now, look, I'm not going to say that this is one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, and it's definitely not my favorite, but I still think it was a great movie with a great story and incredible performances by Ezra Miller as Barry Allen the Flash. I thought he really truly carried the movie, especially with him playing two different versions. One with the younger Barry Allen, who was 18, and one with the present day Barry Allen, the one that we know from his original timeline. I loved it the way the two interacted. It was so believable that they're playing two different people, especially the younger Barry Allen, who has never faced any tragedy, any loss like our Barry Allen had, because Barry lost his mother and he wants to go back in time and change it, and just so that he can reunite with his mom and try and reunite with his father as well, because his father was in prison for the murder that he did not commit, and he's been trying to prove his innocence and trying to exonerate him, but he kept failing. And him as the Flash, he's all alone. He doesn't have anybody in his life, so once he figured out the way how to time travel, he found a way to try to find a loophole. And there was one scene in the movie, without spoiling anything, because that was in the trailer, we see a scene with him and Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne talking about time travel and telling him that you cannot change what you have done. You cannot change what happened to you. All the bad things that you have faced is what made you who you are, and not let your tragedy define you. And that scene was so well done. Now, look, I wish that Ben Affleck was in the movie more, but I get why he wasn't. The opening of the movie, I will say that it does go a little bit of a bombastic Saturday morning cartoons, but you know what? I was still entertained and had a good laughs. I'm not going to lie. And I thought that Michael Keaton's Batman did play a great role in this film. Especially, I'm one of the people that really love Michael Keaton's Batman and the Tim Burton's Batman movie. Seeing him come back into the cape and cowl again just brought a joy and a smile on my face. It felt like he never left. It felt like time hasn't passed. it brought a lot of nostalgic, especially with the Danny Elfman music theme, which I thought it was so well done. Seeing the fight scene with him and the soldiers in the facility when they were trying to break out the kryptonian, it was great seeing him back in action, and seeing the banter with him and Barry Allen was so well done. And there are a lot of goofy humor in the movie, I will say, but there is some humor that really worked for me, and I laughed a lot. And there was so much emotional, heavy moments in the film, especially the scene with Barry Allen's mom. We see the scene with the flashback. We see the one in the alternate timeline. Those scenes really hit me hard on an emotional level that I never thought I would feel. And I thought that Ezra Miller really crushed it. Now, look, I'm not judging him as a person. I'm just judging his performance, and I thought he really crushed it. And I'm one of the people that thought he was a great Barry Allen in the Snyder Cut. I know not a lot of people did, but I'm one of the people that thought he did a great job in that role for what he was given. And I thought he really carried the movie. A lot of people were saying, like, oh, is this going to be a bait and switch where this is going to focus a little bit more on Batman than it was The Flash? No, this is indeed a Flash movie. It's still a Barry Allen story, and it's definitely a character study. I love the concept and the message that they brought in the movie. I thought, and I really did love Sasha Calle. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her last name, but I thought her as Supergirl was great. I thought narrative-wise, it made sense why she's in the movie in this new timeline and not Henry Cavill's Superman. Because if you put him in the movie, it wouldn't have made any sense for him to be there. Now, I'm going to get the negatives out the way. I thought that some of the visual effects shots, which I will agree that some of the CGI were really bad. It looked like it was unfinished, it was cringy at times, and I could see why people would be turned off by that film and why the visual effects were not working for everybody. And there were some visual effects that did stand out, but this is not 100% visual effects perfection like the Snyder movies or like Avatar: The Way of Water. It's nowhere near on that level, especially when we see the Barry Allen going into the Speed Force. And the way that they did that in the visual effects, it just did not work. And I was wondering why they make those choices. And now most of you have already know that there are going to be DC cameos across the multiverse. And this is not a spoiler, but I'm not going to tell you who's in it. I don't want to ruin the surprises for you. We do see a lot of cameos, but most of it was done in the CGI, and I thought it did not work. I thought the concept and seeing them on screen were great and breathtaking, but the CGI kind of felt a little bit of a turnoff, and I don't understand why they made that choice. I will never understand it, to be honest with you. And look, there are some goofy stuff, humor that did always quite land, but I thought it still worked as a whole. And don't expect to see Michael Shannon's General Zod in the film. People were expecting him to be the main villain of the movie, but he's really not the main villain. But you will see who the main villain is. Probably some of you may figure that out by the time you get to the third act. But I thought the third act really delivered because the tensions were high, the stakes were high, there was a lot of greater consequences, and it was dark and emotional, and I really got choked up. Overall, this is definitely one of the better DC EU films, and this is definitely a love letter to the DC fans, and it's a very good closing chapter to the DC EU movies. And I will say that the last 4 minutes of the film, without giving away too much, it took me by surprise. There was a rumor going around that they were going to put someone in the movie, and I did not want to believe it. But the scene, it took me off guard, and it raises a lot of questions and concerns on why they chose that. But I had to look back and watch some of the YouTube videos of them explaining about the ending and give us a better explanation. But mostly they're just theories and speculations. So take that with a giant grain of salt. But I still was a little mixed on how they went in that direction. And I was always wondering, are they going to go in that direction of the DC universe, this brand new chapter that James Gunn is doing? But who knows? We'll see what happens when James Gunn clarifies the whole thing. I believe it will happen probably the time that weekend's over until enough people have gone out to see the Flash film. And after that movie ended, when the credits started to roll, when I checked my phone on Twitter, I saw that the news that broke that Andy Muschietti is actually directing Batman: The Brave and the Bold, that is under the regime with James Gunn. And I was like, yeah, I could definitely see that happening because one, he definitely handled the Batman character very well. I loved how he handled the both versions of Batman with Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton. I thought they were handled very well, especially with Michael Keaton's Batman. But I will say that Ben Affleck is my all-time favorite Batman. No disrespect to Michael Keaton, he's definitely one of my favorites. But it just, after seeing Ben Affleck on screen, it just makes me want a Batman solo movie more with Ben Affleck. But it's unfortunate that we're not going to get it because this is clearly a send-off to his version of that character. So it is what it is. But after coming out of this movie, I will say that I definitely do believe that this probably won't be made for everybody. Some people might be turned off by this movie. Some people will love it, and some people will not like it as much as they were hoping for it. It's going to be one of those movies that it's going to be a little bit divisive. But I'm one of the people that have really enjoyed it. And look, my feelings can change because I've only seen it once, and if I see it multiple times, I might have a different opinion. But who knows? I might like it more and more, or I might like it less and less. Who knows? But I won't put this movie on par with Across the Spider-Verse because Across the Spider-Verse is easily a better movie, and it's in my favorite movie of the year so far. But I will say that if you want to see a good DC film, I say go out and see the Flash movie. Take the baggage and everything you're hearing out the door and judge the movie on its own merits. It's definitely better than Shazam! Fury of the Gods. It's definitely better than Black Adam. And it's better than Quantumania in any of the comic book movies we have seen in recent years. It's still a recommendation, and I will say it's not perfect, but it's still worth the watch. Now, look, have you seen this movie? What did you think of it? Did it live up to your expectations, or are you someone that were very disappointed and it just did not work for you and you were unsatisfied with the movie? Just jump down in the comment section below and leave me your thoughts. And if you want to see my social media, I'm more active on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. But if you want to find my other social media, I'm going to put all my social media links down in the description down below. And subscribe to my channel for more videos to come. And if you liked my review, hit the like button on my video.